Welcome to Hoardganize with professional organizer Rachel Seavey. Every Sunday at 6 p.m., Rachel shares her expertise and compassionate approach to help you deal with overwhelming clutter. Rachel?
Hey, collectors. Thank you so much for tuning into the Hoardganize podcast. I am your host, Rachel Seavey, and this is my Chewini Snap. He won't leave me alone. I have decided to record videos now on YouTube, but he won't leave me alone, and he's been whining and whining at the door. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is Snap. He's a love bug. He's a love bug, but I'm going to have to leave him in because he's been whining at the door. And I'm all set up here and ready to go, and I have to go downstairs and put him out. So I'm keeping him in here, okay? There he is. If you hear him whining, he's okay. He just doesn't like when I talk on the phone or not pay attention to him. Anyway, thank you so much for joining the Hoardganize podcast. As we discussed on my bonus episode, I'm going to start recording these things on video. And you're going to let me know if you like me recording on video for YouTube so that you can see my face while I talk or not. This particular episode is part of the Scratching the Surface series. In the Scratching the Surface series, I've covered all sorts of topics, all focusing on you understanding why it is that you clutter. We've talked about creating a clutter timeline and understanding if how you grew up or if any events happened in your life that perhaps made you the way you are. We've talked about depression and clutter and anxiety and clutter. And the last episode was on ADHD and clutter. I hope you've been able to learn some things. This episode is all about physical disabilities and limitations. It could be if you're aging, or if you were born with a disability, or if you were recently injured or had an accident of some sort. This podcast is specifically for people with limited mobility, limited energy, and I just hope that I can provide you with some tips that will help you. Are you aging or have disabilities and also have clutter? Do you feel like you're in this position and you really want to get out? Do you want your home organized, but the physical part of decluttering is taking a toll on your body? Do you have great intentions to declutter, and then the pain of your bad knees or your back stops you dead in your tracks? Were you injured in an accident and things you once were able to do, you're no longer able to do? They're no longer attainable. Maybe you've always been relatively organized and able-bodied, but now old age is slowing you down, or maybe having you come to a complete halt. You're not alone, collectors. If you feel like this, like many of my clients do, then most likely this feeling in itself is frustrating and overwhelming in addition to the clutter. Some of you might be on medication, and those heavy prescriptions are making you tired before you even begin, leaving things unfinished and all about, disoriented from the medication. If you feel like this, then I have 5 tips. Stay tuned. They're all about decluttering when you have physical limitations. I personally know that you can tackle small amounts of clutter using these 5 tips. And if you can manage 15 minutes a day using these small hacks, you'll start feeling better and start noticing some changes around your house. No one wants to feel incapable, and no one wants to forfeit and give up to old age and allow their home to become a dumping ground. I know you don't want your home to become a dumping ground. You don't want it to remain a dumping ground. Tip number one, schedule your decluttering sessions. When are you most spry or chipper? Is it in the morning before you take your meds? Is it in the afternoon after you've eaten and your medication has already been taken and you've started to get it together for the day? Perhaps you're a night owl. Maybe you want to stay up late and that's your best time and you're physically able and active to do your 15 minutes. No matter what time of the day, you're going to want to schedule your decluttering sessions for the exact times that you are most capable of getting things done. I want to set you up for success, collectors. Don't wake up in the morning sulking because you've got to clean up, but you don't function well in the mornings. Don't forge through. You're just setting yourself up for failure. I want you to listen to your body and pick the perfect time to work on your home physically. I know there isn't always a perfect time, but if you're feeling good, then this is your time. If your body is incongruent with what your mind is saying, then things won't get done. If your mind is saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to go organize, I'm going to do it all day, but your body is in a lot of pain, then it's not going to get done. You have got to remain congruent. You have got to be physically spry, your best moment of the day, even if it's just a short 15 minutes and then you lay down for the rest of the day. You've got to find that time in your day when you're feeling best, when you can be most productive, and when you can physically handle the strain of decluttering. Tip number two. I love this tip. The adjustable chair, the adjustable shower chair. This is perfect for bad knees and bad backs, and it actually can wedge into most small spaces and pathways. They make all sorts of different shower chairs. They're the kind of thing that you're going to want to put into the shower and sit down on, so that you can bathe yourself. But instead of that, you can adjust it to whatever height. A lot of people like to make it kind of lower to the ground and place that in the middle of your clutter so that you can have a place to sit. There's no sense in bending and stooping and lifting and doing all the things that don't work for you when you don't have to. The adjustable shower chair has a round version, which is quite small and really nice if it's a tight, narrow pathway or if you're trying to build a pathway and there's not much space. And then as you gain more space, you might want to think about the more rectangular one that's a little bit more sturdy and allows you a little bit more comfort and support. Tip number three, the grabber. You know those sticks with a handle on one end for you to hold and then the claw at the other end? Get yourself a grabber. I absolutely love these devices. They're great for getting clutter that is tucked away into a small space, even if you aren't disabled or aging. It's great for anybody. And you can also go into high places for us shorties like myself. I do love these things. So get yourself a grabber. Make sure that you have one with firm claws that can easily carry something heavy like a sweatshirt or a pocketbook or a book. You don't, some of them are kind of flimsy, so you don't want to be cheap on the grabber. You want to get yourself a nice sturdy grabber that can actually grab onto any kind of item that you're trying to reach. Some of them even have like a locking position on them, so you reach down, you grab what you want, and then you lock it in case it's hard for you. Maybe you've got some, neuropathy issues, or it's hard for you to squeeze the grabber. It'll actually lock the item that you're trying to grab in place so that you can bring it over to yourself, and then you just press a button and it unlocks. It's very easy. So research your grabbers. I personally haven't had too much luck with the ones with suction cups on the end. Just, I don't know, maybe you'll have better luck with them. I personally like just a real sturdy one. They have them online. They have them probably at a hardware store if you'd like to go in and test them out. And another tip for the grabber is they're slender. Okay, they're like, and they're also usually gray, so they're really easy to lose if you're in a lot of clutter. I recommend putting a bright colored string or some fluorescent tape or something around the grabber so that it doesn't get lost. A lot of the times, clutter kind of makes everything gray and everything just kind of blends together, and you can lose those things quite easily. So, that's a tip for the grabber. Tip number 4, use a walker. Yes, a walker. I have a hard time getting people to use these things. It's like you're taking a death sentence or walking into somewhere that you can never return if you start using a walker. But they're actually really handy, and it shouldn't be embarrassing to use a walker. I don't know what the stigma is with walkers, but I'm definitely going to use a walker the second I need one. They're really nifty. They some of them have trays that you can attach onto the front so that your hands can be nice and sturdy. You know, if you have neuropathy issues and you're constantly dropping small things like prescription pills, etc., this tray that snaps on in the front is great. It carries everything while you have a steady hand and grip on what you're trying to do and where you're walking to. They also have walkers with chairs built right into them. So if you're in the middle of decluttering, you can just sit right down if you get tired, and it's perfect. So, you know, you're tired, you just sit down, you take a few minutes to yourself, you look around, maybe you've got your grabber, and you start creating some sort of organization amongst the chaos, but you've got a steady place to sit down, and then you can get back up using your tray, put your things that you're sorting back on it. I really love these things. Tip number 5, one of my favorite tips, and a tip that I always try and plug in somewhere, right? Ask for help. Most people have a problem asking for help. But you know what? Most people don't have a problem helping their disabled or injured or elderly neighbor. Ask someone you know to pick up your trash from your porch. Um, you don't even have to open the door for them. Sit on your shower stool, get your grabber, and pick up trash and put it into a small bag and just pop it out the front door and have somebody else run it to the trash bin. Um, Ordering food online, I've had some personal experience with Safeway. You know, they will bring things into your kitchen. If you're not comfortable with that, they'll bring it to your front door. Go ahead and maybe put it into a cart so that you can roll it in yourself. But by ordering food online, you're no longer schlepping all the way to the grocery store, going around, finding your groceries, making it home, putting them away. This allows you for maybe 10 bucks extra to have somebody do the shopping for you and drop it off. I really think it's worth it. Asking for help does not mean that you're useless or that you've given up. It just means that you need help. Suck up that pride. I know a lot of my elderly clients are quite ornery. They don't want to bother anyone. They want to do it themselves. They've never had to ask anyone for any help. So why start now? So, you know, if you end up not bothering anyone, you're gonna end up burying yourself alive. On that note, and this is something that I want to have a heart to heart with my elderly listeners or anybody that's getting up there in age. And I mean, we're not promised tomorrow. So just think about it. I know some of my young clients think about this, and I really don't want to sound morbid or depressing, but what happens when you die? Who's going to be left to clean up your mess? Is it going to be your kids, your grandkids, neighbors, city authorities? Think about it. What kind of legacy are you leaving behind? Asking for help now might be humbling, uncomfortable, embarrassing, but just think about what your mess is going to look like at the very end. You might just want to clean it up now and save your loved ones for future grief. It's just the reality, collectors. I clean up and work with family members of deceased hoarders. And the family members and the friends are so overwhelmed with the volume of stuff and the sight and the smell that they pretty much get rid of everything. And a lot of the times, people's treasures, your treasures, can get lost in that. Perhaps you wanted to leave your family with some items and you will never even really get a chance to because they were buried and your family was so overwhelmed that they hired a company like mine to sort out trash and donation. And I do that very often, collectors. So I want to just keep you thinking. I love provoking thought. I want you to know that there's a lot to think about and there's really a lot to plan for. I do hope that scratching the surface here and that this series has helped you in your journey on tackling your clutter and helping you identify why it is that you clutter. Next week, we will be talking all about beliefs and clutter. We're still in the Scratching the Surface series, and we're going to be talking about causes that are things you grew up with or certain beliefs that you have that make you the way you are. Perhaps you're a waste not want night type of a person. Perhaps you feel like everything should be reused until it's literally falling apart in garbage, and then maybe you should reuse that as a rag or something like that. You need to understand what your beliefs are about things themselves, and we'll be talking about that next week on the Hoardganize podcast. So if you are watching this video on YouTube, which I hope you are, please leave me a comment. Let me know if you think I should keep recording on YouTube. Click like, subscribe to my channel, get me going here. And I really appreciate all of your emails and texts and direct messages. It's really inspiring and has helped me continue to keep the podcast going. Until next time, collectors, happiness is a place between too little and too much.
This has been Hoardganize with Rachel Seavey. New episodes are available every Sunday at 6 p.m. and also on the Collector Care YouTube channel. Download Rachel's Affirmations for Collectors on iTunes or Amazon.com, or sign up for Rachel's blog at collectorcare.com and receive 7 tips for clutter-free living. Thanks for listening.